Good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome you here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're here Saturday night. Well, it's actually Saturday afternoon. We will be Saturday night when this comes out to do a video of What's New. And What's New is a show that I do every Saturday in which I choose an album that came out in 2024, or a new album if you prefer. Came out this year, and we kind of discuss it. Well, I discuss it. I tell you what I think of it, and then if you want to, you can put comments about it in the comment section below. Definitely something that I enjoy doing. I'm really happy that people support me doing this particular episode, as well as the rest of the stuff on the channel too. So without further ado, we're going to get into this. Okay, so this album was released March the 1st, 2024. It's about 54 minutes in length on the Progressive Record label, Rock Records label, and produced by Rick Miller, who is the main person in this band. I think maybe it is his band entirely. I'm not 100% sure. So it doesn't really say what Rick Miller does. I know he produces the stuff and arranges all the stuff here on the album. I assume he's playing something. Maybe he's just doing the vocals, or maybe he's not doing any of that stuff. I'm not really sure. Doesn't really give you any indication about what he's doing. Other people on the album include Sarah Young on flute, Javilia Caravacaviliana, that's a tongue tire. She also plays flute. Barry Haggerty on guitars, Kane Miller on acoustic guitar and violin, and he may be a relative of some sort to Rick Miller. Doesn't say. I didn't see anything. I guess if I was to go and look at the history of the band, I might be able to find that out. Atem Litvichenko on cello, Matisse Svoboda on cello as well, and then Will, who doesn't have a last name, on drums. Well, I'm sure he has a last name, but they didn't include it in the credits, so I can't include it in my review. So we basically have 8 tracks. I think there's 8 tracks on this album. Yeah, eight songs on the album. It's not an 8-track, by the way, just in case I gave you that impression that it might be. So I listened to the entire album. It's got a lot of stuff about it that I like, but it has a lot of stuff that is kind of not really up my sleeve as well. So we have, I think of it as a melodic prog rock album. That's the genre that if I was classifying this, that's what I would classify it as. Maybe a little bit spacey too. Maybe a little space rock there. The vocals are a little bit on the whispery side, but are clear sounding. You can hear his voice clearly. Very Floyd-like in a lot of ways. It's within that range that you get the Floyd music vocals in, but his voice is a little bit more whispery and not as dominating or smooth at all as you would get from the guys in Floyd. Guitar plays a little bit of a big part on this album. Melodic solos, very again within that Floyd range, but not really sounding like Floyd at all. They have the elements, the slowness, the melodicness, the long solo drawn out stuff, but it doesn't really have a Floyd sound to it. Some symphonic parts as well, but not dominant. So let's get back to the individual tracks. So Atrophy is the first song on the album. Some noise effects and synthesizer effects to open this kind of track. Lots of keyboard parts on it as well, very dominant. Subdued but clear vocals, which are, I think a little bit on the indiscriminate side. They're not really something that is memorable, I guess is a word for it. There is some voice narrative in this song. There is throughout the album, but there's definitely some at the beginning here at the track in this track. Very. The vocals kind of remind me of some of the stuff that you might have heard on Genesis, except for it doesn't really sound like Genesis at all, but it's kind of something like that. I don't really know if I'm describing that well, so we'll just pass on that and we'll go on to the next song. And if something comes to me that makes sense, I'll bring it up again. Time goes on. Vocals are again whispery. The song has a Byrds flavor to it. So if you like the Byrds, you will kind of like this. It has that sound that they use. The vocal harmonies are very Byrds-like as well. The heavy part in the midstream of the album, and the solo is very catchy. But overall, the dominant part of this is that it has that 60-ish style Byrds kind of vocal harmony sound that you get with a lot of those kind of British bands, but sometimes some of the American West Coast stuff as well. The Lost Years is the next track up, fairly lengthy track, as is Atrophy. They were both fairly lengthy. This one, a little bit of a female vocal part here. It doesn't indicate who's doing that, but it's not bad. Heavy guitar riff. The music is melodic, heavy melodic track overall. I think it's probably one of the heaviest, if not the heaviest track on the album. And I don't know if that's a coincidence, but it also is my favorite track on this album. Then you have, I think it's She of the Darkness is the title of the track. Sometimes my spelling is not really clear to me, even to me. This is a shorter track, like kind of a piano and a flute combo going on here. It's creative, somber, symphonic in sound, but it's also an instrumental. There are no vocals on this track, but it's not a bad track. Now we'll do the back half of the album. A couple of lengthy tracks here as well, but opening the back half of the album is One of Many, which I guess is the title track of the album. It's about 5 minutes or so in length. Starts out with that voice narrative that I told you about. The vocals are clear and melodic, and the heavy sound of Prog, almost a Floyd-like sound here in this particular track. And then the next two tracks, which I think are the two weakest on the album, are also two of the longer ones. So Perchance to Dream is about 13 minutes in length, fairly long song, slow and melodic guitar playing here. Vocals are melodic and more of a mainstream sound to them. Lots of synthesizers creating this kind of a synthesizer atmosphere, and the flute is a little bit catchy, but the track is pretty much, to me, a little bit on the unmemorable side. Wanderlust, which is the 7th track on the album, 6:46 in length. Maybe, to me, the weakest track on the album. It starts out with a synthesizer part, and then the vocals are clear, but are very whispery, kind of within that Floyd sounding, and strong melodic guitar solo, which may be the best part of this track. But overall, it's just a pretty unmemorable track. And the final track, Another Time. Acoustic guitar parts here. Very slow, very melodic. The vocals are typical of the album, whispery, Floyd-like. The violin, though, adds to this song, as does the acoustic guitar. The acoustic guitar opening kind of diminishes that symphonic sound that you're getting so much of on the album, and kind of gives it a little bit of a different feel. The violin adds to that and also brings a bit of a sad feel to this song. This song, to me, closes the album on a positive note. So I give it about a 6, so it's one of the better tracks on the album. I did like the album, but there's a lot of stuff on here that's not really anything overly new. It's not really memorable. There's a little bit too much symphonic parts to it. The vocals, although different and clear and not bad, just really don't bring any life to the album in general. That's the biggest issue, I think, with this album, is it doesn't have a great deal of life to it. Yes, it's got some good instrumentation. Yes, the vocals are clear. Yes, there are some acoustic and violin and flute and little bits of this and that, which are all nice. But overall, it doesn't really do anything that is spectacular or catchy in any way that I think is all that memorable. So on the whole, I wouldn't say I was disappointed with it. It's not an album that I would search out to buy. I think I would probably, I'd buy it if it was a couple of dollars or something like that, but to actually go out and spend any amount of money to get it, I don't think I would do that. So, you can take that to whatever, any way you want, but I can't, in all consciousness, recommend it as a great album. But if you like that kind of stuff that I suggested here and I talked about here, if you like that Pink Floyd-ish kind of slow melodic stuff, you may actually find this a bit on the interesting side. So anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of What's New. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons. That's much appreciated. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. And also, if you got comments about the album or anything I've said, or have any questions or anything like that, put them in the comments section below. I try to answer stuff as often as I can. Unless somebody's just repeating nonsense, then I may answer a few of them, and then eventually I'll just drift away. I've had to do that lately with one particular guy who just keeps putting a nonsense thing on there all the time, so I just don't bother answering anymore. But generally speaking, I try to answer everybody who has something to say. And if you do, please don't forget to put it in the comment section. And we'll be back next Saturday with another episode of What's New. So have yourself a good evening and take care. Goodbye.